Would you give up living in the US and move back to Canada? Right now, more and more Canadians living south of the border are seriously thinking about this question. Back in 2023, there was about 828,000 Canadians living in the United States. That was 2 years ago. And I'd really like to see what that number is today. Last week, I spoke to one of those 828,000 Canadians, and he's also a loyal channel member of ours. He gave me firsthand insight into what life is like for a Canadian in the US right now. And he's already started the process to come home. Today's video is going to be a bit longer because I could have talked to him for hours. So grab your tea or coffee, pause it here if you need to, because this perspective is what most of us here in Canada haven't personally experienced. Before we start, here's another photo from my mom, taken a few days ago at Lonsdale Quay in North Vancouver. Thanks again, Mom. And just a heads up before I start, I've conducted hundreds of interviews in a workplace setting, but this is the first time I've done one from a public perspective. So forgive me if it's a bit rougher on the edges, or if it has a few audio issues. All right, let's get into the interview. I want to thank you for reaching out to me because, like I mentioned to you offline, I really wanted to get a different perspective for my viewers. And what you're going to be able to tell the community is a very different story versus what, the typical US media is portraying. Before we get started, maybe you can do a bit of an introduction so, the community can have an idea of what your current, situation is. So.
Okay, yeah. So, well, first off, thanks for letting me do this with you. And I've been following your channel for a few months, and I like it a lot. And I just want to encourage Canadians, keep going, keep it up. Don't let this wave of enthusiasm die down. Keep it up. But so my situation is, and I'm going to be deliberately vague because I'm still in US. I'm as I just mentioned to you, I'm actually, this has been such a staggering experience that I'm selling my house. I'm selling everything I own. I've already sold over $1,000 American worth of things. And I am driving from Arizona to Vancouver, either somewhere between January and May of next year. And I think there is a very realistic possibility I will never step foot in this country ever again.
Wow.
And when I moved here, I've been here for 10 and a half years. I've had my green card for about 7.5 of those years. About a month ago or 2 months ago, I canceled my citizenship interview, and in so doing, ate the $720, $710 American cost I paid to apply.
Right.
When I moved here 10 and a half years ago, I thought I was moving from my country to my country's best friend. Right. And what I found here was, to me, what we are currently going through, the 51st state, the tariffs, all that stuff. Don't be confused and think this is just a Trump thing or this is just a MAGA thing. It is so much worse than that. The biggest lesson I can offer here is, that stereotype around the world that's essentially goes something like this. Most Americans do not care about anything that happens beyond their own borders, if indeed they even care about that much. That is, I would say, somewhere in the ballpark of 70% absolutely true. The thing that was by far the most staggering for me, that absolutely floored me, is the cross-the-board bipartisan indifference. This is not a MAGA thing. This is not a Trump thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is bipartisan. Now, of course, there is a sizable minority of Americans that absolutely do care and absolutely have responded the exact sort of way that us Canadians would have hoped they would have responded to this betrayal, which is exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. But they are a minority. They may be a non-trivial minority. They may be a vocal minority, but They are grossly outnumbered.
All right. That's interesting because, we do have a lot of US viewers, and, I have a lot of friends and family in the States. Yeah, I know there is a minority, right? But then again, I only know a very, very small portion, right? So,
yeah.
I guess being in Arizona, is Arizona a red state? It is, right?
It's purple leaning red.
Purple leaning red. So,
yeah.
You're right in the middle of it, right? And,
mm-hmm.
I guess being in the US for, you said, about 10 years,
Yep.
Have you noticed a big difference in terms of how they see Canadians when you first moved there versus now?
Um, no, it's just I perceive the attitude. It's like when someone finds out I'm Canadian, it's kind of like, oh, that's neat, that's cool. It's positive and interested.
Right.
It tends to be the reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, whenever I used to go to the U.S., I mean, I would say I was Canadian, and
Hmm.
sometimes I would get the this occasional small jab like, "Oh, you're the little brother of U.S." and things like that, right? But when you're Canadian, you go down to the US and you kind of hear this stuff, it's kind of like whatever, right? But I think once the 51st state rhetoric came out, that's when it became serious to us, right? So I can understand that, yes, this has always been kind of going on, but now that their president has openly gave the red, the green light to go ahead and say it definitely means a lot more, or
Yeah.
we take it more seriously, I guess, right?
Well, it's kind of funny because my two best friends and they're both in Canada. One's in Vancouver and one's in Oshawa, Ontario, about an hour from Toronto, maybe a little more than that.
Right.
They came and visited me here in February. And had we not already made this trip and they had booked their flights and got their vacation time off of work, we wouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't feel quite so bad about it because in February, like he did kind of pull the tariffs off the table.
Yeah.
And so there was hope. But when we were here, I invited them to come out. They were here visiting me, and on a couple of occasions, we went out with some of my local friends here. And a few of them on one night were making 51st state jokes. And afterward, when it was just me and my two Canadian friends, like I just said, it's like I know they were just joking and we joke about everything. And so like I get it, but like I did not really like that.
Yeah.
And so my friend was kind of like, we were talking about a month ago, and he said there was kind of, because I responded with extreme. My response could not have been much more extreme than it was to what's been going on.
Right.
And my friend sort of said, it's like, wow, there was actually some degree of, it turns out, foreshadowing to the strength of your response and then he recalled this moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, that did happen, and I did say that.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's to us as Canadians, it's serious, right? I mean, the threat of having your country taken over is serious
Yeah,
to us, but to I think a lot of U.S. citizens, especially the ones that support Trump, they think it's a joke, right? And if the situation was reversed, you can be
yeah,
sure that there'd be bullets flying across the border, and I'm sure the reaction would be a lot worse than how Canadians are reacting to it right now.
right. Well, and it's just, even if it really is, it's disrespectful.
Hmm.
And disrespect is one thing, but when it's like your country's longest, closest, most loyal ally, neighbor, with whom you share like 80+% cultural overlap, you're in the same sports leagues, you share the same celebrities, like that, it's a different thing. Like I don't expect, for example, the average Austrian to care as much about the average Canadian, and as I do Americans, because we're not Austria and Canada, we're not best friends, and apparently neither are we in America, and that's been the hard thing, is like just finding out that this person or this country that you thought you were in this tight relationship, and now you're finding out, wow, this was actually pretty one directional, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think a lot of Canadians, including myself, are realizing that it was one direction, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that a lot of people would say, "Oh, you're the little brother," it's definitely a one way thing, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, like I will give Trump, there's almost everything Trump has said about Canada, almost all of it has been absolute flagrant lies.
Yeah.
But there is, I would say, one or two things he said that are true. One is that we absolutely, I think I don't think it is true that Canada has been free riding off of America for security
Hmm.
for a long time. And that's a valid criticism.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah.
Right. And we are kind of a bit of a little brother, and to some degree, but like
Yeah.
everything else That was
I
like,
think
yeah,
right now, I mean, it's definitely a turning point for Canada because we're realizing that hey, how much we actually did rely on the U.S., but we're also realizing too how independent we can be.
oh
The
yeah.
biggest thing is, especially from my channel, my biggest thing that I'm learning is how much support we have from around the world. I mean,
Yeah, so it's not so much,
yeah,
yeah, independent, but I think most countries can't be independent. That's part of one of the things of globalization is that
yeah,
you get international specialization where not every country makes everything, but we
right,
trade.
yeah,
But yeah, we have a lot more friends, and that's one of the differences. America right now has next to no friends.
exactly.
Like
I
like
mean, they're definitely isolating themselves.
whereas
Um,
we've got like the world's golden child.
yeah, exactly. One question I do have for you, I mean, especially since, Donald's second term,
Yeah.
do you ever have situations where you worry about your safety?
Yeah. So I've taken a lot of precautions. Firstly, well, my camera's off right now, and you're gonna blur out my name.
Yep.
That's one. I put out two YouTube videos on this subject. I've pulled them both down.
Hmm.
I have changed my Facebook name. When I make posts on this subject matter, like only my friends can see them, and I pull them down in no more than 2 weeks.
Right.
This is something I hadn't mentioned to you. And there is a physical therapist in Arizona that also has a green card. And he immigrated to America as a refugee 49 years ago at the age of 3 with his family. He has been in an ICE detention camp for the
Oh, wow.
last 12 days.
Wow.
As a healthcare professional, anywhere probably, but in America, definitely, and in Canada, you cannot have a criminal record, right? So we can be very confident that he did not earn his way into that ICE detention camp.
Right.
There's a lot, basically, the odds that he deserves to be there are staggeringly low. And so my plan has been to leave to go back to go to Vancouver. I've been targeting May 1st as my hit the road date.
Mhm.
And the reason I want, and believe me, I'm not happy here. I would leave much sooner. But as we all know, Vancouver is an extremely expensive city.
Mhm.
So to give you an indication of how much I want out of here, I am willfully taking a pay cut that will be over 30%. And that's not even including conversion.
Right.
So if you factor that in, it's way more. I am moving from a place that has a cost of living, like my cost of living is going to at least double. So my pay is going to go down by 30 plus percent. My cost of living is going to go up by over 100%. On top of that, I have seasonal affective disorder, arthritic conditions, and spinal conditions. There is no better place in the world for me than where I am right now, dry, warm, and sunny.
Yeah.
And Vancouver will be a significant step down health wise because of, spent it's like 40% of the year it's gloomy, it's wet, it's not good for arthritis.
Right.
I still want out,
Yeah.
and I'm still doing it. But the reason you asked me, do I feel unsafe? There is a very real possibility that I'm going to accelerate my timeline up so that I start making the drive in January.
Got it.
So,
In terms of safety wise, have you witnessed any sort of ICE activity in person or
no,
no?
I've not.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when it comes to ICE, we see the videos online. We're not boots on the ground and we don't know, but is the area that you are in, are they supportive of ICE or are they also protesting against ICE?
It's going to be a mixture, because that's what you're going to get in a purple state.
Hmm.
Is some people are on the right, some people on the left, and there's a healthy contingency of both. But we are a border state, so that you know what I mean. But then it's, for example, I work, and so I work with patients. I work in healthcare, and recently I was talking to a Hispanic family, and I asked them if they're nervous. They said, "Of course we're nervous." But then I've talked to other Hispanic people that I haven't asked them if they're nervous, but they've given me no indication of being such. My boss, who's also a friend of mine, he's Hispanic American. And he said to me, like, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. So that to me suggests that he's not particularly nervous because he's externalizing the concern. He's not like, I can't believe what we're going through. He's like, I can't imagine what you're going through.
Right.
So
Understand. I mean, it's very strange times that we're living in right now. And, for me, my safety, I mean, it is something that I have mentioned multiple times on my channel, because I have had people that, they want me on camera, or they want me to, be a public figure. But,
Mm,
with my concern is always that, hey, if I expose my identity, and if
mm,
for any reason I need to go to the US for
right.
family reasons or for friends reasons, or, someone
Yeah.
close to me goes to the hospital, and if CBP finds out, hey, are you running this channel called Guard the Leaf? That is going to be major problems for me. And especially with the
Yeah.
content that I'm creating and being critical of the president, I
Right.
don't want to be in a situation where the Australian national, his name was Alistair Kitchen, was basically stopped right off the plane, and questioned for his public views. So, for me, safety, I'm glad I'm on this side of the border, but,
Yeah.
I do
I can't
also,
wait to get back.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine, but,
Yeah.
I'm protecting myself as you are protecting yourself as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's, as I mentioned, I did make a few videos, and one video that I do have in mind that I might make is, as I mentioned to you, I'm selling all my stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm taking pictures as things disappear in my house.
Right.
And so what I'm thinking of doing is making a video where it starts with me here in Arizona.
Hmm.
And as I'm talking here in Arizona, you'll just see like pictures on the screen where like, oh, the couch is gone, the carpet's gone, the
Yeah.
pictures on the walls are gone.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the video, I'm in Vancouver.
Right.
So
Well, definitely come back to the homeland, and you'll definitely be much safer. Now that you're coming back to Vancouver, is there anything that could change your mind to stay in the U.S.? In a scenario that things change, what would that change have to be in order for you to go back to the U.S.?
I guess there are things that are theoretically possible, but I do not see them happening. And I cannot unsee what I've already seen, which is staggering levels of indifference. And so I'll tell a little bit more detail. So when this started happening in early March, when the tariffs came in, right?
Mhm.
About 4 days before that, I came down with norovirus. And since I work in healthcare, I took about, I didn't go back to work for about 8 or 9 days because I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely not just symptom free, but symptom free for days because I'm working with highly vulnerable people.
Right.
And so by the time my symptoms were mostly gone, that's when the tariffs got dropped. That was when Trudeau gave his speech that morning. And then there was the big event in DC where like the Senate and the Congress were there and Trump was talking for like 48 hours straight. So I was home, I was quarantining, but I was mostly symptom free. So I was fully good.
Right.
And I spent that period of time going online. I'd be going on Twitter, going to like one Democrat, one Republican after another, high profile commentators on both sides. And the thing that was the most staggering for me was that the indifference was quite bipartisan. I would go to, so I had people like politicians and people, ex-politicians that are still prominent. So I look at like both Obamas, both Clintons, Amy Klobuchar, Ro Khanna, AOC, and other prominent American Democratic politicians. I would watch videos by the Young Turks on the left and Ben Shapiro on the right. And what I was stunned by was that if the word Canada was mentioned at all, which it often wasn't, if they were talking about what was happening, it was exclusively, it wasn't just America centric, it was America only. Even the Young Turks, progressive, right? They were talking about it. They didn't. I probably watched about 4 or 5 videos of theirs during the week or two surrounding this. They didn't even allude to the betrayal of America's best friend once, not once. They didn't talk about the impact on Canada. All they were talking about was the impact on the American economy. It was the biggest case of only child syndrome I've ever seen.
Yeah.
With Ben Shapiro, he was against the tariffs right from the get-go, but in the video I watched of him, and it was about a week in, it was like during that first week, I think, he's speaking against the tariffs, and he literally said pretty much verbatim, now don't get me wrong, I don't care about Canada too much. And then he said, like, this is just bad economic policy for us. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for being so obvious about it. But the most staggering for me, the most unforgivable is Gavin Newsom. Because the governor of California, when Trump was doing all the whole Governor Trudeau 51st state talk, I'm going to use economic force, back in January, that was right concurrent with Canada sending down water bombers and firefighters to help put out what one of the worst fires in California history, maybe, at least. Gavin Newsom said nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
And then 5 or 6 weeks later, the tariffs come into play. The fire's been out. He said nothing.
Yep.
Maybe a month later, he put out like a promotional ad basically encouraging Canadians to come back to travel to California because he realized we weren't screwing around. And it's just like, go screw yourself. Yeah. Here's a Canadian nickel. Go screw yourself.
Yeah. And that aligns with all the reports that I'm doing. I mean, everything is a lot, very one-sided, right? So in any of my reports, I haven't heard anything from businesses or U.S. politicians saying that they're going to do this to support Canada or anything. It's really just, we'll be here when you're ready, and we really miss you, right? So I think, for me personally, that rubbed me off the wrong way. It aligns with what you said, that everything is a one-way thing with them.
Yeah, well, I think one of the messages that I've seen you say, like in quite a few of your videos, and I agree with it, is, why do you American businesses and politicians keep coming to us and telling us, we'll be here when you're ready, and we hope you'll change your mind, and all that kind of stuff. Stop coming to us. We are not the problem here. Start going to your president. He's the problem.
Exactly. That's been my number one message since I started the channel, is that they're directing the energy and efforts at the wrong people. And, I think as time goes on, Canadians, we're already starting to tune them out, right? And
it's almost like if a husband is beating up a wife, it'd be like in-laws or whatever going to the wife and saying, he's doing his best. Can you forgive him? Can you give him another chance? Yeah. It's like, why don't you go to him and saying, stop hitting her?
Yeah, exactly.
You could, if you're gonna talk to the wife, at least also talk to the husband.
Exactly.
If you're gonna talk to the Canadians, at least also talk to Trump.
Yeah, which is what we have not seen, right? That goes with all of these small businesses that are suffering as well, right? And if this situation was reversed hypothetically, right, and I was a small business and I was affected, I would be going to my government. I would be rallying other businesses and making a lot of noise, but what I see from the U.S. businesses and states that are suffering is that they're just sitting back waiting. Some of the tone that I'm actually seeing is like, "Oh, you guys will eventually come back. You're
Oh yeah.
So if that even pisses me even more.
Absolutely. And I will say too, so it's another thing too. So there that was the national scale, right?
Yeah.
But now let's go down to there's a microcosm. So in my own personal life, my own direct experience maps on to the national level scene so much. There's a reason I don't mind doing this with you right now on a Friday night. I don't go out that much anymore because I've stopped talking to more than half of the people I talk. The national level patterns I'm seeing here, of indifference, they've occurred in my own life. I have stopped talking to at least, if not more than half the people in my life here. I have stopped talking to them. And it's like, I had been going to a church here for a few years. I started going as a non-believer several years ago, just for community and everything. And I had stopped going just a few weeks after over 3 years of going just reliably, every Sunday. I stopped going about 4 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks before this really hit the fan. And it was very begrudgingly. It was because of a social. I used to date a girl in the church, and I was just finding that I wasn't able to get over her so long as I kept being there.
Right.
And so, I let everyone in the church that I was close to know that, I'm leaving begrudgingly. This community means so much to me. It's really the first community I've ever really had, because I moved around a lot as a kid, and my family was kind of fragmented and so forth. Mm-hmm. But I really want to maintain connection. I don't like doing this. I have to do this. The number of people in this church that showed any degree of support at all for me, I could list with one hand and have fingers left over. Mm-hmm. So, and here's another crazy story. I mentioned this situation about the physical therapist who's been in ICE for the last 12 days. I told two of my neighbors about it in text messages. They both know that I'm moving back to Canada. And I just sent them a text message saying an update. So I secured a job in Vancouver, but I'm thinking of accelerating my timeline because, and I told them briefly about the story about the ICE detention of the physical therapist that I had met before.
Yes.
One of them responded by simply saying, "Sorry about your friend, period, end of message." That was it. That was the whole response. And the other didn't reply at all. It's like, I've been to these people's, I've been the one that didn't reply at all. I've been to his house over 20 times easily. I've been there for 4th of July. I've been there for baby shower. I've been there for his baby's first birthday, for birthday parties, for New Year's Eve, all that stuff. Didn't even reply at all. Nothing.
That's sad because I mean, it's people that you trust, and
Yeah.
a story like this, and for them to either just say sorry if this happened or not even respond. I can definitely feel or understand how you would feel after that, right? So
Yeah, it's absolutely staggering. It's absolutely jaw dropping.
yeah,
It's this almost like this existential crisis for me where you're just, oh my God, the average person can be so callous and indifferent.
yeah.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to generalize Americans. I mean,
Yeah.
I have lots of friends. I have lots of family in the U.S. Unfortunately, I'm probably never gonna see them in their home. But I also do know that it is a big majority, especially if you're in a red state, that they're definitely not going to care about anything if it comes to Canadians or anything outside of their state or even their borders.
Yeah, no, I will say, I'm in Arizona. If I was in Massachusetts or Washington State, I would not be things would be a lot better. I would be coming across far more people that are having roughly the kind of responses I would have hoped they would have had.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's that. And I don't want to understate that. And I absolutely do meet Americans, even in my everyday life, who have the response I would hope they would have. Into my healthcare work, I've had a few patients, when it comes up that I'm Canadian, I've had a few of them just say, "I'm so sorry for what's happening right now." And I always tell them, I'm like, "Thank you so much for saying that." The first day, so I told you I was getting over norovirus. My first day back to work, I did a part day, and I was, it just came up that I was Canadian, and the patient I was working with just said, "I'm so sorry what's happening." And I told her, "Thank you so much for saying that." I really needed to hear that. And it was kind of funny because a few months ago, maybe a month ago, someone else in her family also needed care, and so I came into contact with her again. And I just told her, you have no idea how much what you said to me helped, because I was so down and so dispirited and disillusioned by just what I was seeing is just, by all appearances, no one really seems to give a shit.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear an American say what you said. And so I was very effusive in my thanks. And whenever I come across an American who does, I'm overboard in my thank yous.
Yeah, I could totally understand that. I mean, if you were in Washington State or California, it'd definitely be a lot different. You'd be surrounded by more people that are, that would show more empathy towards Canada.
Yeah. Or Minnesota, absolutely.
Yeah. So I could totally understand that. I mean, you're surrounded when you're in Arizona. But I've seen tourists here in Vancouver, and there's a few times where I've been walking and I see a tourist looking at a map trying to find somewhere, and I'll just stop and say, "Hey, can I help you find something?" Right?
Yeah.
We start a conversation. I find out that they are American, and they also do the same thing too. We're really sorry for what's happening right now, and we don't agree with it, right? So it does give me hope.
And they're the one. They're supporting us. They're helping. They're coming and spending their. So you got to give them I love that.
Yeah. One question I have. I mean, you sound like you're pretty set on coming back. The plan's in motion. Everything. The wheels are already starting to move. What do you think's the most that you're going to miss about living in the U.S.?
The weather and the money. The weather, I make a lot more money here, and my cost of living is very low. So me moving back to Canada, I am adding a couple of years. Had I stayed here, I would have been able to retire significantly earlier. Mm-hmm. So the money, the low cost of living, the income, the low cost of living, and the short commute times, and the weather. Those are the things I will miss the most.
Okay. Anything? What about like in terms of like people wise or your day to day lives and interactions? Is there anything there that you're going to be missing?
No, not really.
No.
Uh, well, so that's what one thing that's tough is we live in such a hyper mobile society.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned that I started going to that church a few years ago. And the reason I started doing that was because when I first moved here, my goal was I'm like, in 5 years from now, I want to have a tight knit group of friends that I've been friends with for over 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that, but they all left town for different jobs and other places. And in the years surrounding the COVID, the four of my closer friends in town left. And so I wanted to make new friends, obviously. And so I was thinking, well, I could do the meetup.com thing. But the problem with that is that people that go to those events are disproportionately not from town. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Right. And because of that, they're not as likely to still be here in 3 or 4 years. So I don't want to have to keep on making new friends every couple of years. I want to have deep, long lasting, lifelong friendships.
Right.
It's felt like, well, if I go to a church, like most people there, they're probably not going anywhere. So I started going there, and then like so many of the people there, like their lack of response to this and support for me, even though they could see me. And I will say that I was absolutely blowing a gasket on Facebook. And initially, like in February, I was posting a couple times a week, once or twice a week, and I wasn't flipping out. Like I even went out of my way to make a post saying thanks for all my American friends who've been so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that they really hadn't been. Yeah. Sometimes it's like it's almost like you give someone a compliment and hoping that they will live up to the compliment afterwards.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where like a few had, but not many. But I thought I would like make it look like it was more than there was.
Yeah.
And but a few did, but just that's it. Mm-hmm. And so, but like after I saw the lack of response, it's like, so you asked, am I going to basically miss people here? Not really. Yeah. Because most of the people that are still here that I consorted with disappointed me greatly. So yeah, no, not really.
Well, I think moving back to Canada, I mean, you're the environment that you're in and the people that you're surrounded with really affects, how we do our day-to-day lives, right? And you being in a red state right now, you're pretty much in enemy territory, right? So I feel that coming back to Canada would probably be a lot better when it comes to social life and everything for you. So
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I can't wait to be there. And this, I love that this has brought our country together so much. Yeah. And before we did this interview, you kind of just sort of said the kind of ground rules is we don't want to be, you don't want to talk about like Canadian political disagreements and conflict so much because this is about unification of Canadians, mm-hmm. not us bickering with each other about domestic affairs.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back to Canada. I don't care if people are left, right, center. Let's work together. Our country is as strong as we are, and we got to be sticking together. And I will say that anyone who's putting partisanship over country, I hope they will change their ways because.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I've had a lot of emails and comments asking me about like internal Canadian politics and stuff like that, right? And, for me, I'm not an expert at all, right? And but for me, the channel is really about unifying Canada, whether you're a liberal or conservative or NDP, and really focusing on who our actual enemy is, which is the guy in the White House, right?
Right. So if you're a liberal supporter. You want Canada strong, we are stronger together.
Yeah.
And if you're on the conservative side, if you want to put Canada first, put Canada first.
Yeah.
Not Polyev, not the CPC.
Yeah.
Right? I myself was supportive of Pierre. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I'm not a conservative. I'm pretty moderate. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it's Canada first.
Yeah.
And whoever won that election, I'm going to be rooting for them.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to put Canada first.
Definitely. Well, to close this off, is there anything else that you wanted to tell the audience? Your experience being boots on the ground in a red state. Is there anything that you think the audience should be aware of, or before you head back to Canada?
Keep buying Canadian. and buying the products of countries that are our allies. If you see Mexican produce, buy it. If you're getting a little bit like I've never drank more Crown Royal in my life, but if I get bored, I'm going to Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
Keep doing this. This matters.
Right.
There's a degree to which our leaders, Carney and so forth, they might not be able to be quite as elbows up as we would like them to be with retaliatory tariffs, because when they do that, it punishes Canadians for one, and it could result in even more to Canadian businesses. I understand with Carney, a lot of us want him to be very strong in things like retaliatory tariffs and whatnot, and I hope he is as strong as is feasible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a delicate balance, right? He doesn't want to drive up costs for Canadians. He doesn't want to harm Canadian businesses any more than is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So to some degree, he might not be able to be as elbows up as we want him to be, but that doesn't stop us from being it. We can be elbows up every single time we go to the store.
I 100% agree, because there's been times where I get emotional. I just say, you know what, let's shut off their power, right? But obviously, if government was to do that, shut off the power to the eastern seaboard, that's going to cause a lot of problems, right? So it's a delicate balance that the government has to do, but that doesn't mean we have to be a delicate balance as well. And I think what's hurting the most right now, especially in the tourism industry for the U.S., the government didn't tell us to do this, right? I mean, we kind of did this on our own. So
absolutely, and we are sending people in other countries around the world are cheering for us and are taking it on themselves, and that's amazing.
100%.
It's amazing, and there's other things too. It's so for example, if you come across a cool Canadian show on CBC, tell your friends, you got to check out this show, because I love Kim's Convenience and Mr. D. That show was great, and I like Robson Arms way back when. If you come across a good Canadian TV show, share it, tell people.
Yep, exactly.
Good Canadian comedians like Ryan Long, spread the word.
Yeah, I do want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to the international community, because I mean, when I started this channel, I looked at my analytics, it was 90% Canadians, but after it started growing, I mean, I got viewers all over Europe, Latin America, even Brazil. Asia actually is starting to show a lot more support and comments. Well, it's great. I mean, it really tells me that the international community is behind Canada. And, when I see this, to me, it's not just Canada only, buy Canada, visit Canada only. I want my viewers to continue visiting Europe. Go visit Latin America. Go visit all these other countries that actually do support us. Just anywhere but the U.S. So,
we need to unify. Donald Trump can bully most of us singularly, but he can't bully any of us collectively.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and think of it this way. Canada is America's longest, closest, most loyal, best friend. We share the longest unprotected border. Our cultures overlap is not complete, but probably 80+%. If he can do this to us, why wouldn't he do it to you?
Exactly. So, I think it's been about 7 months now, and I think that, it's really starting to settle how Canadians are feeling. And, I've mentioned in my videos, I mean, what the U.S. government and tourist officials were saying is that, the summer is going to basically save us. The Canadians will come back. I've even seen tourist officials say, where else can the Canadians go? We have the beaches and stuff, right? So, we're definitely showing them. And I think moving forward, it's definitely going to be something where instead of just traveling to the U.S., support our allies. Go to Europe, go to Asia, Latin America, everywhere else, right?
Absolutely. And when you're there, make friends.
Yep.
Do on the ground grassroots diplomacy. You go to Korea, make a Korean friend.
Yep, exactly. And I think the next big hit for the U.S. is going to be the snowbird season. So, everyone in Florida, they're going through a housing crisis right now, but I don't think they've really seen what's going to be coming. I'll definitely be reporting that. Don't want to say that I'm itching to report it, but it's coming for them, and I don't think they realize it yet. So,
Yeah, no, I'll have the popcorn out, and when I'm in Vancouver, maybe we can watch it together.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely still keeping my anonymous thing for safety, but we'll figure something out maybe. All right. Well, I want to thank you because I mean, I think this is a different perspective versus what I have been showing my audience. It's a perspective of somebody that is boots on the ground in a red state. So, I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and we'll definitely be in contact again in the future. I mean, if anything else comes up or there's an incident that has happened in your area in Arizona, by
Hmm.
all means, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to jump on a call with you again.
Perfect.
Well, thanks very much. And I really appreciate you spending the time to speak with me.
Elbows up.
Elbows up.